to invest 2 cards to take it out if he wants to, or can take some hits from it for now. But it looks like he's just going.
You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
Hello and welcome back to the Eternal Tournament Series Season 5. Season 6, Week 5. It's been a long day, apparently. Oh, yeah, it's the top 8. That's what I'm trying to get to through all this pomp and circumstance, right? Many dozens of players entered today. 8 have made it through the Swiss, and we've got all the top 8 action here to cover. So to start with, let's just go over who made it through the Swiss. So we've got Kamado at 6-0 on Argenport mid-range. Tavrod making his presence felt there right at the top. Serb with Argenport mid-range as well at 5-1. The SirRhino at 5-1 on Recano plate. Moosh at 5-1 on Combre Party. Endkeeper at 5-1 on Chalice. Swan at 5-1 on Praxis mid-range. And then we got a pair of 4-2 players sneaking in right there on Breakers. Iliake on his Stone Scar aggro deck at 4-2. And Tatsumaki, yeah, we get a second Chalice deck in there at 4-2. So that's our top 8. We're going to get into the action real shortly. And here to help me break down all this top 8 action is LocoPojo. How you doing, Loco?
Doing pretty good. So the matchup that we have for today is going to be the SirRhino versus Endkeeper. So it'll be Chalice versus Recano plate. And we've seen the SirRhino's Recano plate deck before. It's using the new Cinder Yetis to add a little bit of extra card draw to the deck. And beyond that, the Chalice matchup looks fairly similar to most of the Chalice decks that we've seen. We've got Combre Healer, we've got Archive Curator, Lumen Defender, but nothing too out of the ordinary here. It's a pretty stock list, I would say.
Yep, we've seen both of these players earlier on in the tournament because they were doing well earlier on in the tournament, and they continued that success all the way into the top 8. So not a whole lot to break down here. These are decks we're quite familiar with, even though, the decks have changed slightly, right? SirRhino repping those Cinder Yetis in the main deck, some Crimson Fire Mauls in the side. Overall, though, the matchup's not going to play out too differently. The big thing here is, will SirRhino have the protects for the things he wants to protect? Will he fly over in the spots he wants to fly over? And how will Endkeeper's removal and answers line up to the threats that SirRhino is presenting?
Should be an interesting matchup, so we should be ready to hop into it soonish. I think it's going to be pretty hard for SirRhino to overcome Chalice in this one. I'm probably favoring Endkeeper a little bit on this one, since Chalice traditionally favors decently well against the Recano setup.
I like SirRhino's build against Chalice here, though, so I'm actually going to take him in this match. I like that, he's on Tinker Overseers, which are really nice against Chalice. The 4 familiar 4-4, so that's a lot more flyers than, or just a good number of flyers, and that can be a problem for Chalice sometimes. Although I guess Endkeeper is on 2 Archive Curator, 2 Parliament, so a little bit of flying, but not a ton as we see this match get underway. And Endkeeper does not have a good hand right now. I don't know if SirRhino does that either, but I think it's better than Endkeeper's.
Too great. SirRhino's hand has a 2-drop and a 3-drop, so a little bit better already. Endkeeper's looking at 2 power and just is denied the ability to get to 3. If he draws the power, Amber Acolyte will put him in a position to actually be fairly strong, but he needs to draw a lot, and he doesn't have much. This is definitely not what he's looking for.
Yep, so Endkeeper doesn't find a 3rd power, can't cast Tumble Scribe because it doesn't have double time, and that Yeti's got a hammer. Who thought that was a good idea? Because the beats are coming, Warcry 3 in, and Endkeeper goes down to 17, desperately trying to find something. Kothon is something, but a whole lot of nothing right here.
Colors. This 3-color deck does have a little bit of inherent instability that you have to be worried about, and it's biting Endkeeper right now. 6-5 swinging in, so I think SirRhino's got this game wrapped. Kothon Fire Watcher comes down here to block the 2-2, but after that, we will see probably an Emerald Monument, and once that happens, it's anyone's game as to what happens next.
Yep, so Endkeeper at least found power, but is it going to be too late? As we see, again, the Gem Blade come down, Chump Block has to come out, Endkeeper's got 2 lethal units in play, or not Endkeeper. SkiJ has 2 lethal units in play, and it looks like is going to take this game 1. So I do want to remind our viewers, this is now the top 8. This is a best of 5. So we're not going to sideboarding just yet. We're going to run back this matchup, and we don't go to sideboarding until after game 2. So so far, so good for my prediction, at least, as SkiJ, takes that game 1. Although not quite to the script or the gameplay we expected. It was more just Chalice stumbled real hard. You normally don't see Chalice stumble like that. And Rakano took advantage.
Well, now that we're jumping back into the next game, Endkeeper's opener, if he wants to keep this, has the right influence, but not the right amount of power. And getting stuck at 2 must be something that he's a little bit afraid of after that last performance. So SkiJ, in the meantime, has Oni Ronin into Silverwing Familiar. He's probably pretty happy to keep that hand. So we're probably going to be seeing what ends up happening there.
I think both players will keep. Endkeeper, yeah, he had 2 power last game, but it was also double sigil, so it was like he couldn't even cast things like Temple Scribe. Here, at least he has multiple 2-drops and very good 3-drops again. Like, just because you got stuck power on 2 last time doesn't mean you get scared of it again here. Just because Combray Healer and Amber Acolyte, like, if you draw 1 of any power, your whole hand is live, and you just need to draw 1 more power then for Harsh Rule. So yeah, both players keep, and turn 1 Oni Ronin. It's a tale as old as time at this point.
Yep, if Endkeeper draws undepleted power, he'll be able to Desert Marshal and knock some of these Warcries off. But if he doesn't, then SkiJ is going to be able to get ahead of it. And he actually drew into his 2-drop, so he's now on curve for Oni Ronin into Outlaw into Shogun Scepter. And I think that as far as that goes, SkiJ is definitely going to be in a position of advantage from here on out.
Yeah, Endkeeper is certainly on the back foot right now, but finds that 3rd power. Can play out a Desert Marshal here. It's up to him whether or not he wants to like pop an Aegis. I'm thinking it's going to silence the Outlaw, and it looks like he's even going to let the Outlaw get us Warcry in here.
This means that he has, because he allowed the Warcry to happen, he does get to pop the Aegis on the Silverwing Familiar instead of on one of the 2/2s. That'll give him a better opportunity to deal with the Silverwing Familiar later.
Yeah.
Amber Acolyte is the card that he needs to push up to Harsh Rule next turn, so he'll probably go Seek into Amber Acolyte, although Desert Marshal could certainly do the same job.
Yeah, I like guaranteeing the Harsh Rule here for sure. Just make sure next turn you can cast it, because there's not much else that's getting you back from the spot. As you said, Desert Marshal's okay, but I think a hard reset's really the ideal thing to do here.
Yeah, and with this setup, SkiJ's got to be worried about the Harsh Rule. Like, Amber Acolyte doesn't seem like the right card to be playing on turn 3, and you know that the deck is mostly drops that are 4 or less, so there's got to be a Harsh Rule here. The question is, does SkiJ see it? He attacks all in, he doesn't play the Hammer of Might, and he's pretty likely to just stay put here. Deal his 5 damage, force the Harsh Rule, and then try to set up with Tinker Overseer and Hammer of Might next turn.
Yep, so SkiJ respecting the possibility of Harsh Rule, and now Endkeeper doesn't have to play it. Combray Healer comes down, Desert Marshal gets held up so it can ambush the Silverwing Familiar when it comes in. But now that'll probably force SkiJ, yep, here comes the Hammer. Doesn't have to worry about something like Island's Choice here, and now Endkeeper will take that bird out of the skies.
The problem with the Chalice matchup in general is that, like, if you're playing against the Harsh Rule, then you're just allowing your opponent to actually take the board with his smaller units because you're playing just a little bit inefficiently. And like, this deck is just very capable of figuring out ways to stall out if it doesn't have to play Harsh Rule. So you kind of have to play as though the Harsh Rule isn't there, and even when it is, it's a big problem. So
that being said, the Hammer still gets the Harsh Rule to get forced out here, and there are a lot of Warcries on something on the top of SkiJ's deck, and he still has a flyer in hand. That Torch, not super useful though, but we'll see what it can do as we move forward here.
Desert Marshal is a very big pickup for Endkeeper here. He just gets to knock the Tinker Overseer out of the sky. He can wait, or just use Archive Curator here, which seems like just as reasonable to play. Once SkiJ gets a plate, Desert Marshal's around to silence it, so that's an issue. And there's still an Island's Choice, so yeah, I'm not looking. I'm thinking SkiJ's options are getting a lot more limited now.
Yeah, Endkeeper sniffed out this torch at this point. Like, there's been so many pauses from SkiJ that he would have used Protect if he had it. So Endkeeper's reasonably certain that at least the way is cleared as far as Protect's concerned. SkiJ could still draw one moving forward, but I think Endkeeper's figured out that he's staring down a torch right now, and we'll have to keep that in mind going forward. And that Cinder Yeti is a big boy. 15-14 Overwhelm Orb.
It's an awful lot of Warcries on one unit, which is gonna get Island's choiced, but I mean, at least he's got a really, really good amount of pressure. So the 3/3 here swings in. It's not gonna be able to get past the Archive Curator next turn, but beyond that, yeah, Endkeeper has a Parliament. He's got an Island's choice. I think he's feeling pretty comfy with the board at the moment.
Yep, SkiJ's got 2 Vanquishes to deal with these owls at least, so the pressure comes through. But yeah, you really don't want to get that many Warcries on one unit in a control matchup unless it's on a unit with Aegis, right? But that's not the case here. At least they got, I don't know, that's a sweet looking Yeti, that's for sure.
The double attacks here just lines up Archive Curator against the 15-14 and the Island's Choice against 15-14 and Archive Curator against the Tinker Overseer.
Yep.
So with Desert Marshal available,
torch here, right? Oh wow, no,
I don't know.
That's
hard to say if the torch
on the
is right
carrier
or not. Direct damage, although Combra Healers and Lumen Defenders are going to be a big issue as well. It's possible that that torch can pick something up better than the Archive Curator.
Yeah, it's possible. I was thinking you just want to get rid of that blocker that's in the way and hope that Endkeeper had nothing. Of course, Endkeeper doesn't have nothing, but now it's in the way still, right? And it's just a Seed of Glory from SkiJ there and a pass. And now it's the waiting game, right? Does somebody find a plate or a chalice first or something like that? Although even if SkiJ finds a plate, it's going to get silenced.
Tricky one, but
there we go.
Koth and the Far Watcher, that's a real big issue. With Endkeeper sitting on a Desert Marshal, I think he's got this game probably sealed at this point. He's in the point where he's stabilized. He still has to get through about 29 points of health, but his board position is only going to get better.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what combination of cards SkiJ can draw here to win it out. I'm thinking it's going to involve Protect plus Stuff. Right? It's almost certainly going to involve at least a Protect, but we see Finest Hour as the draw here, not Protect. And now you thought you could escape Desert Marshal, but turns out you can't, as this Shaman of Glory becomes a 1/1 now and can get blocked by really with whatever Endkeeper wants to block with.
Yeah, I think this improves SkiJ's chances a little bit now that he has access to the ability to plate out, but Island's Choice being drawn means Endkeeper is once again in control. So from here, he's got 6 damage a turn. He's got good blocks. He's looking pretty solid.
Yeah, basically, SkiJ needs to draw Protect into plate in that order. And
he can get really, really hurt here by Finest Houring into an Island's Choice.
Yeah.
That could be just devastating. So from here on out.
Yeah, hasn't been opting to swing with this 3/3 so far, even though he had the Finest Hour and Torch to back it up. So interesting to see what the plan is there as he finds a second torch.
Torch hits Kothan. That's the Flyers out of the air. And now he's going to go ahead and go on in. He gets a series of blocks that are probably beneficial to him, assuming he torches again or Finest Hours.
Yeah, but as you alluded to, Island's Choice technically doesn't counter Finest Hour, but it kills the unit that receives it. So it's even better than that.
Yep. However, SkiJ might actually have 3 damage in here, which is kind of nice. So putting his opponent at 9, that's not too bad. From here, Endkeeper is a little bit closer to death. That's the damage that SkiJ was looking for. And Rakano Plate, again, looks like something that might be usable. Endkeeper with the best top deck.
Yep.
Gets a vanquish.
But, that other big thing there was that the Finest Hour got the Island's Choice out of hand, and now Endkeeper's answers to a plate are all at slow speed. It's Vanquish and Harsh Rule. And SkiJ finds a Tinker Overseer, and Channel might be lethal here.
A Channel looks like it is going to be game. That's...
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yep, Endkeeper evens up the series 1 apiece. And now we get to go to sideboarding. So lots of options here for both players in terms of how to change up their strategy, change up their deck. The SkiJ's got a pretty extreme sideboard. The extra protect, sure, that makes sense. But the rest of the cards, we're talking 4s or 3-ofs. 4 Paladin Oathbook, we see that a lot come in against control. 3 Crimson Firemaul, 4 Groundbreaker, 3 Soulfire Drake. Just big units that stand on their own as threats. Do you think all of these cards could come in, or some of them, or stick to the current Rakano plan?
That's quite possible. It's really tricky to determine what's best against the Chalice deck. The Finest Hours aren't helping him a lot, and they're kind of hurting him against Island's Choice, so it looks like he's going to cut those out first.
Yeah.
Going bigger seems like a reasonable plan. If you can basically just get around enough of the Vanquishes and Island's Choices, then you have a better chance of getting through. SkiJ is actually adding Vanquishes into his list in order to try and figure out the best way to basically get rid of some of the owls and some of the bigger blockers that are really sort of threatening his board.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have to find a way around the 1/4s, though, and that's going to be a little bit trickier for this type of deck.
The other thing to keep in mind there with upping the Vanquish count from 2 to 3 is Endkeeper has Sandstorm Titan in the sideboard. And I think SkiJ might be anticipating that he'll be seeing some number of Sandstorm Titans post-board, or I don't know why else you would really creep up that Vanquish number. So other than Sandstorm Titan possibly coming in for Endkeeper, what other changes do you see here? Do you think this is a matchup where Chalice goes without Chalice and just instead banks on Wisdom and Channels on the top end, or Parliaments or whatever getting the job done?
That's worked for Endkeeper so far. He certainly hasn't had to play Chalice or, like, in any situation really benefited from having a Chalice. He's got a lot of card quality here in the form of Parliament and Channel the Tempest. He has a lot of ways to make the game go long, and as the game goes longer, it is possible that he could just cycle out the Chalices and have a slightly better deck. We will see exactly what ends up happening, though. It looks like they're both getting ready to go, and we're getting into Game 3.
Yeah. Game 3 underway. We'll see what sideboard options ended up getting chosen. I'm sure both players are quite familiar with this matchup, so they had a plan going in, as we see SkiJ get on the board first with an Oni Ronin. Turn 1.
So we've got Oni Ronin into Paladin Oathbook. Good way to develop some early threats that are going to be fairly aggressive. Oathbook has the disadvantage of making it more easy to kill things with Vanquish or Island's Choice, but it has the advantage of making it so everything needs to get killed by Island's Choice or Vanquish. So there's only going to be like 8 good answers as opposed to Desert Marshal just killing everything. So from here, like, I think that SkiJ has a reasonable path to victory, but it's going to be a little bit tricky.
Well, it's going pretty well so far as it gets the Vanquish out of Endkeeper, which gets responded to by a Protect. So this Oni Ronin gets up to a 5/4 now, continues its reign of war cries, gets Endkeeper down to 13, and yep, Tinker Overseer comes down. So now if Endkeeper has another removal spell here, he'll have SkiJ already has another unit ready to go, start attacking and getting buffed by Oathbook.
Yeah, Endkeeper has the Vanquish, but his follow-up is just a Temple Scribe, so it's
not
gonna
even
develop the board too much.
Can't cast Temple Scribe. No double time available for this 3-faction deck. Instead, just has to pass and hope to draw some more power the old-fashioned way, just off the top of the deck.
Yeah, he can Parliament to find a blocker, but there's a Vanquish ready for it, so that'll be 4 damage to face. He's also up on Harsh Rule, but Harsh Rule on a single unit is not really what you want to be doing against Rakano. So we'll see exactly how fast that happens and what it's going to end up doing.
Yeah, and that is the beauty of Paladin Oathbook in this matchup, is it makes every threat in Rakano slightly better, where normally that's not the case, right? Normally, Oni Ronin at some point gets outclassed, or you have to invest an actual card into it to make it a real threat. But this game, it was just one Oathbook, made Oni Ronin eat 2 Vanquishes, and now this Oathbook's going to work on Tinker Overseer, and it's a big 4/4 flyer already.
Yeah. Endkeeper opted for a Combra Healer that turn to just sort of stabilize and take a little bit less damage, but he is going to have to Harsh Rule fairly soon. He's actually taking another 5 this turn, so
yeah,
that's a big hit, and combined with a Torch, that could be a really significant play.
Yeah, if SkiJ drew a Justice Source there, he would have had lethal with the plate, but not the case. Ooh, Endkeeper finds a Scorpion Wasp this turn. We'll see if he opts to hold that up or go for Harsh Roll.
Harsh Roll answers Deep Forge Plate, but nothing's going to answer Deep Forge Plate. Going on in.
Yep. In Torch. Yeah, so we'll see Wasp get torched here, as you said. But still, no damage from Tinker Overseer goes through as well. Doesn't have Overwhelm. Endkeeper finding a second Harsh Roll. We're definitely going to see one get used here.
Has to play it this turn. He's still 1 power away from Great Parliament being useful here. And with the second Harsh Roll, he's not too worried about the crackback throw.
Yeah.
Valkyrie Enforcer here
makes
stuff happen, but SkiJ can't play it, so...
Yeah, and it looks like Endkeeper's turning the corner on this one. SkiJ just doesn't have double justice, can't play the threat in hand, uses a Vanquish on one of these owls, and even once he finds a justice source for Valkyrie Enforcer, it's going to be exposed to removal.
In the meantime, Endkeeper's Chalices are just dead in hand. He can play them both if he wants to. There's probably no reason not to, aside from like threatening Desert Marshals, but getting the extra card draw going could be a good thing.
Yep, so one Chalice comes out, bluffs stuff here, and SkiJ finds a playable card in Rakano Outlaw, but Endkeeper draws Island's Choice.
Yeah, that's the answer that he needs to just deal with these weapons one at a time. So he'll be able to knock the big thing off, and then once that happens, it's up to the next big thing.
Yeah, SkiJ, but Endkeeper opted to not attack. I think that's proper just because if they have Protect for Island's Choice, you die, and you don't want to die here. But yeah, by getting this, even this little 2-drop, sure, your Island's Choice is getting a 2-for-1 here, but that's a lot of war cries going down. And ooh, SkiJ drew a Soulfire Drake for that turn.
And aReNGee's going for it. That's actually game.
That is
opened up to the Soulfire Drake, so that will be a 2-1 for SkiJ, and we'll be moving into game 4.
Yep. Holding up that extra power just to bluff some things here, but yep, Soulfire Drake swings in unopposed, and whew, that was a game. SkiJ with the hot start just had to find a way to finish. Soulfire Drake gets it done there. Nothing like flying in charge, right?
It's a good way to finish off the round, and it's actually better than Deep Forge play for SkiJ in most situations because
and we
Island's Choice well, it's just good stuff there.
Yeah, and we saw SkiJ trim a Deep Forge plate or two and bring in Soulfire Drakes, right? Soulfire Drakes are out of the sideboard, so sideboard having an impact there on both sides in that game, right? We saw the Scorpion Wasps from Endkeeper, and we saw the Soulfire Drakes from SkiJ. So sideboards, man, it's important stuff. It's really fun to see post versus pre kind of sideboard game differences. What you have to play around, what you have to play with.
Change there and took one Oathbook out, upped a Protect because he's just seeing that so useful against those Vanquishes and Island's Choices. The Oathbooks have been doing a lot of work for him, but I do agree that the Protects is really important to make sure that you don't get 2-for-1.
Yeah, I was surprised that he wasn't already at 3 Protects, and maybe after that game he's like, you know what, I should bring in more of that card. It's pretty good. I know I mentioned Protect a lot, as anytime we're talking about like outs or what you want to top deck, I keep mentioning Protect, and that's a pretty good sign that you want extra copies of it.
We're into round 4. They're getting started up. Looks like we'll be seeing whether or not these people can go a little bit further, or SkiJ can take the next round.
Yep. So Endkeeper opting to not ambush the Desert Marshal, just play it at regular speed to deny Oni Ronin that war cry. It means SkiJ knows that the Desert Marshal's there, but Endkeeper's fine with him having that knowledge of it. Means getting rid of a war cry.
So every Desert Marshal that SkiJ gets out of Endkeeper's hand is a huge win for him on account of Soulfire Drake being such a good play if it doesn't get Desert Marshaled. Basically, Soulfire Drake into Desert Marshal is just really bad for him. Even if it gets Island's Choice, having all of his units have charge would be very, very useful.
Yeah. Well, even worse than that is either these quick draw units, when they get silenced, also lose quite a bit of their bite, right? Because we've got a Rakano Outlaw and a Champion of Glory. Both of these things have quick draw, so Scorpion Wasp does nothing here, as we see Endkeeper just opt to instead play in Island's favor. No reason to hold up power for Scorpion Wasp. A little odd that he played the Primal Sigil there, but not a big deal.
SkiJ is sitting on Hammer of Mights. He's ready to go with those, but once he gets kind of offensive, it's going to be up to Endkeeper to figure out some way to stay alive.
Yeah, and SkiJ had an intriguing choice there in terms of like how to deploy power with like a Monument still in hand and that Soulfire Drake lurking. But Endkeeper finds an Island's Choice. Probably going to hold that up instead of playing Lumen Defender, as Lumen Defender can't even block Rakano Outlaw, but it still gains 5 and can block Champion of Glory. So actually, Endkeeper goes with that instead.
It's nice to establish them as early as possible. Just throw out some chump blocks if you need to. Be fairly okay with your current life total. He actually does decide to take the 5 rather than lose the Amber Acolyte.
And that's a draw.
Just that he's playing for Chalice later.
So both players drawing some haymakers here. SkiJ found a Silverwing Familiar with 4 War Cries, which normally is pretty tough to answer, but Endkeeper's got these Scorpion Wasps in hand, which are a real clean answer, as well as drawing this Desert Marshal now as a Silence and Island's Choice. So Endkeeper's got a whole lot of answers in store for SkiJ, as SkiJ throws down a Hammer of Might on a Familiar, and Scorpion Wasp doesn't care.
Scorpion Wasp and Island's Choice, which just answers 2 of the biggest threats.
Yeah.
There will be 9 additional health for SkiJ, which gives him a little more time to find answers and find ways to push through. But Endkeeper's got an Aegis on his face. He's got a decent amount of health. He doesn't have a Chalice yet, so it is going to be card for card for a while. And without Desert Marshal and Scorpion Wasp getting great things, that could be pretty bad.
Yeah, but it's just all answers all the time while Endkeeper doesn't have an engine going. This Desert Marshal, you mentioned it. It's real good against Soulfire Drake, and SkiJ is going to pull the trigger on this Drake at some point. Don't know when, but Endkeeper's is representing the Desert Marshal right now. But for how long can SkiJ even respect that as, geez, another Hammer of Might comes down? This will get the Desert Marshal out of hand for sure.
Which means Soulfire Drake's going to be open to attack in. The Scorpion Wasp will be able to hit it, but that's still going to at least give SkiJ a bunch of flying or charge units, which is what he needs to push through and win the game as the game goes long.
Or if SkiJ draws undepleted power, he'll have Torch to back up this Soulfire Drake against Scorpion Wasp and just have this threat continue to pressure. Looks like that's not the case, though, as Soulfire Drake comes through with no backup. But again, getting a huge Entomb trigger there. Now the rest of the units in the SkiJ's deck, whenever he ends up drawing them, will have either charge or flying. Or if they already have flying, they'll have both.
SkiJ's got a fairly good weapon here, an Emerald Monument with some War Cries on it. He's been at 5 power for quite a while to have that out. But the problem here is that he doesn't have a great way to get damage across. He can torch the Lumen Defender, get the quick draw set up. But from there, play Emerald Monument is a tricky one.
Yeah. This Champion of Glory's got flying, didn't get charge. And we'll see if it ends up being bestowed a weapon to try and up this clock, as Endkeeper's still at 20 here. Vanquish was the draw for that turn. No targets yet, but could be getting one very shortly here.
That's 9 damage in the air. Scorpion Wasp no longer answers this kind of stuff. And Endkeeper's still holding on to his little units, hoping for a draw. He found the Harsh Rule, which is probably his best option.
Yep, Harsh Rule comes out here. So Endkeeper still has a Vanquish in hand. SkiJ still has a Deep Forge Plate. And Endkeeper finds a Chalice after cleaning up some Chalice targets, but hoping to find more.
SkiJ just needs to play something. If he can get a Deep Forge Plate on it, there's the Island's Choice. That's locked out. So from here, it's going to be SkiJ needs 2 different things.
Boom. And this thing gets underneath Vanquish
with this Valkyrie Enforcer. Yeah. The more he can attack with these little 3/3s, the better off he gets.
Keeper.
Answer them?
Yeah.
Keeper actually has to Harsh Rule the 3/3.
Yeah, that was a tough choice, right? Because the thing is out of Island's Choice and Vanquish range, but it's not killing you unless they buff it, and then it's in Island's Choice range. So that was a tough call to make there with the Harsh Rule, because basically the only way it's lethal is if Island's Choice kills it anyways.
Yeah, we know that SkiJ has actually taken all of the finest hours out of his deck.
Mhm.
Endkeeper picking up something very important here, which
Boom.
is the
Yeah.
Kothan. That gets him 2 blockers, both of them flying, which is really relevant.
Yeah.
He gets to just draw something off of Chalice, which is something he's been looking for quite some time. He's now
Mhm.
sitting on enough defensive stuff to stabilize. He's got to answer Deep Forge Plate correctly,
Ooh,
but
here we go.
2 damage there.
SkiJ has double torch. If Endkeeper, I imagine Endkeeper's going to use Desert Marshal here, but if for some reason he doesn't, SkiJ could get lethal.
It's just enough, yeah. Okay, Desert Marshal does happen.
Mm-hmm.
So 2/2 on the ground. Gets to just set up Kothans to basically blow through. SkiJ's real answer here now is triple torch.
Yeah, but instead he's opting to torch the Desert Marshal so that he
Yeah.
can keep the 2/2 as a unit and hope that his opponent doesn't have Island's Choice.
I'm not sure how much
Or
I
draw
like that.
protect.
Even like the Deep Forge Plate doesn't even get through Kothan right now, and there are 2 different awesome answers in Endkeeper's hand. Not that SkiJ can necessarily know that that's the case.
Right.
He knows that his opponent hasn't played anything this turn, and he's playing power pretty aggressively,
Yeah.
but it's a tough
Yeah.
call.
What SkiJ knows is that that's the only unit he has, and that he has 2 weapons in hand that he really wants to put on units. Now he finds another one here, makes a 4/3 charge quick draw double Warcry here with Rakano Outlaw from the top of the deck, and we'll see the Kothan baits out the torch, and now Endkeeper can do a gotcha with Island's Choice.
Put SkiJ down 1 torch, but Endkeeper down 1 vanquish. And if he can get the Deep Forge Plate active, that's actually enough. It's just with Kothan, there's so much meat on the board that it's going to be basically impossible to get through it.
And another Island's Choice shows up, and I think that's going to be all she wrote. SkiJ is going to have a phenomenal draw from here on out. I wouldn't even know what to put the percent chance at. Maybe like 1 in 10,000 at this point that SkiJ could possibly win this.
It's just too much stuff on the board now.
Yeah.
Endkeeper's got the value out, so it's going to go to 2/2, and we'll go into game 5.
Yeah, and with Endkeeper not even activating Kothan there, right? Just holding up Island's Choice, and SkiJ is going to be like, you got to be kidding me. But because he did that, SkiJ finds a Vanquish for this Kothan that hasn't ultimated yet. And I don't know, SkiJ's got 22 health in store, but still has to somehow fight his way through an Island's Choice and a Vanquish. But Endkeeper being at 5, I mean, it's possible.
Ray healer there, getting him a little bit more health. The Chalice now drawing him cards. I think here it's so rough.
Yeah.
He's got the Endurance Flyer to attack with. SkiJ's stuff is just not big enough. There's not enough work rise out on the board. It's all very, very bad.
Yeah, at some point, SkiJ is going to brick on draws. He hasn't yet. He keeps drawing units and other things, but here comes the plate, the A space. We'll see the Island's Choice, and then we'll see the scoop here.
Should be game. Endkeeper's now ahead. He's got his opponent on a 2 to 3 turn clock. And yep, just going to go ahead and swing for the fences.
Yeah, the Kothan even has endurance, so it's not like you could somehow sneak in a charge flying unit, even though that was possible. Kothan's endurance will shut down that out. And yeah, we're tied up here 2-2.
So a very close game, but yeah, we've got one more round to see if either one of them can take it.
Yeah, so we'll see if the players do any more sideboard adjustments. That was a tough one. A lot of answers on both sides, a whole lot of haymakers. I mean, we saw in Keeper's starting hand, right? All those wasps, which at first couldn't do anything, but eventually found their targets. They just had to be patient. And yeah, it's not often you just get you actually get card advantage on a bird with a weapon on it, but we saw it there, the power of Scorpion Wasp.
Yeah, very, very strong. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. Like each player now has to decide if there's any additional changes they want to make. SkiJ might want to consider putting those Paladin Oath books or an extra Paladin Oath book back in. Like it is just, it seems to be a card that's really benefiting him in the board. But we're into the game now, so we're going to see exactly what's going on.
Yep, game is underway. Looks like Endkeeper got to be on the play. SkiJ's on the draw. No one draw from SkiJ either, but a couple of nice 2 drops with quick draw and a good hammer as well, good fixing. So there's some good stuff going on there. But in the meantime, it's going to be a slow roller for SkiJ.
All right, so we have a Kothan the Far Watcher there, and Combre Healer set up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Endkeeper's looking reasonably defensive here with the Combre Healer, but he doesn't have a lot of amazing answers here. The Island's Choice is the one big thing.
Yep, SkiJ top decks the Flyer, so that's not getting blocked, but it's also not going to be developing War Cries anytime soon. Has the option to silence Kothan here. I wonder if that'll be the line from SkiJ or if it'll develop some other things on the ground. And by playing that undepleted power.
Silence target, yeah.
Yeah, because his other card in hand was an Emerald Monument, so he might have wanted to get that out so he could curve into a Hammer of Might next turn. But instead, he's going to just see if he draws undepleted power naturally here.
SkiJ can now put a Hammer of Might on one of his flyers, although he is on depleted power, so not quite going to make it. Once that happens, he'll be able to push in for a little bit of damage under the Island's Choice, but that's only if Endkeeper plays something this turn, which isn't happening.
Yep, so we're seeing the repercussions of that decision, right? I think it was a reasonable play to go Valkyrie Enforcer, but again, it was at the cost of using the silence on a non-flyer, and you had to play one of your undepleted sources instead of a depleted one. And it's a risk versus reward proposition, and he got slightly punished for it. But here we go. Power is found. Hammer of Might is now on the Tinker Overseer, but Endkeeper's got an Island's Choice ready.
Yeah, that's 3 War Cries, so he does get some value out of it, but he has to find it on basically a weapon or something that can actually deal with this owl that's just locking down the board.
Yeah, but here's the upside of using the silence when you did. Kothan doesn't get ultimated here, so either way, you're going to have some big nasty flyers to deal with. And Deep Forge Plate gets 3 War Cries, and Endkeeper has nothing in hand.
Is absolutely beautiful for SkiJ. For once, Endkeeper doesn't have the right answer. He draws it immediately, but he didn't have it then.
Well,
and
I don't know if this is the right answer, but at least it's an answer.
A good chump block at least sets him up to the point where he's not dying, and the longer that he can live, the more likely he is to seal up this game.
Yeah,
he can do a really weird, intense quintuple block here if there's like a torch or something that's really bad, but he might just want to get this thing out of the way as fast as he can.
That risk is not worth it, because then you're also risking losing your 4/4 flyer for nothing, and that is currently going to hold off not just what's on board, but as we see here, the Champion of Glory come out as well. So right now, Endkeeper's staring down essentially an abyss, right? Every time this 11/11 attacks, he doesn't have to block it. He is at 15. He could take a hit, but all right. SkiJ taking out the flyer so he can start swinging with the 2/2 as well. Paying Endkeeper to force him to top deck the Harsh Rule, because obviously Endkeeper doesn't have it in hand.
Harsh Rule, it's got to happen. Endkeeper could also draw like an island and slow things down a bit, but there's a lot of rush here already. There's 5 damage in the air, so he's running out of options, and he's drawing into a lot of power, which is a thing that the Chalice deck can often do.
Yep, Endkeeper needs basically a Harsh Rule or a Great Parliament. Could also get the job done, but Seek Power is not it. Basically, Endkeeper is going to have one more draw step here, unless SkiJ is not going to find something like Finest. But
Harsh Rule, it can't be anything else.
Yeah. Yep. So here comes the 11/11 again.
And is it going to be the Harsh Rule?
Nope. Whole lot of power.
Justice Sigil.
Whew. I mean, to be fair, SkiJ also drew a lot of power this game. I mean, we're talking 8 power on the side of Rakano. Endkeeper drew 4 more than that, but that's kind of the way the deck's scripted, right? So
yeah, Endkeeper's real problem here was that his removal for once didn't line up properly. He didn't quite get the right amount of Vanquishes and Islands choices to deal with the big weapons. His Desert Marshal silenced the Deep Forge Plate, but that is the star card for SkiJ, and if he can play it down at the right moment, which it turns out he had, it definitely presents a problem for Endkeeper that's very hard to resolve.
Yeah, if that Desert Marshal was an Island's choice or a Scorpion Wasp, we'd be talking a very different story. That game would have had a lot more draw steps and chump blockers. but that's not the case. And boy, SkiJ takes that one 3-2. Quite the nail biter, but down goes Chalice, at least on this side of the bracket. And actually on the other side of the bracket, it looks like that was the last match outstanding. So we can do a quick breakdown of what we've got going on for these standings. Looks like we just saw SkiJ.
The Cubs got runneth over.
Yeah, SkiJ took down Endkeeper 3-2. Serb on Argenport took out Iliake, who was on his Stone Scar aggro deck. So Serb advances 3-2. Swan was on Praxis and takes down Moosh 3-0. Jeez. And then Kamado, who I can't even remember what Kamado was on. Argenport midrange, our top seed. So both Argenport midrange lists move on. Argenport midrange taking down Chalice 3-1. So there we go. That is the results of that round, and we'll get back with more coverage in just a moment.